This is 7 News High School Red Zone Review Preview.
Hi everybody, welcome to the show as we look back on week number 9 and look ahead to Friday's week number 10 in the high school red zone. As you may have heard, a handful of games, roughly half a dozen, moved off of Friday, most of those to tonight. And if you're watching this live, going on right now, as you've got some battles going on for the Westside Rams against Easley that kicked off at 7 p.m. If Westside wins that, they formally wrap up the Region 1-4A crown after getting big wins over Greenville and Greenwood. The latter we'll show you here in a moment. And you've also got a Landrum team trying to stay alive for the playoffs in Region 1-2A, playing at Liberty, and pretty much a must-win situation for Brent Bridges' squad, which started 4-1 but has gone 0-3 in the region. And that's another one that's being played on Thursday night. But everyone else, for the most part, is scheduled and staying in place for their 7:30 Friday kickoffs. Let's begin looking back at last week's action, and we'll start out at the home of the Rams as Hannah rolled into Hillcrest looking to get a win and wrap up the Region 1-5A crown. Katie Patterson's touchdown putting them up 36-19 in the second half, but Hillcrest Thomas Stanley into the end zone, then Avery McFadden getting in there, and before you know it, the Rams were within 3, had the ball late, went on a drive in the rain, and Jalen Harrison steps up with a big game-saving interception. Hillcrest wins another region title. They improve, or I should say Hannah wins another region title. They improve to 8-1 and 3-0. Hillcrest dropping to 7-1 and 1-1. And here's the winning coach afterward.
Our kids fought extremely hard. You know, the weather, it kind of went south in a hurry. It kind of went south in a hurry, but our kids fought. You know, it was sloppy. There was turnovers on both sides in the second half, but our kids are resilient, and they did a great job.
And that they did. So Hannah's the region champ. Hillcrest still has a chance to match last year's 9-1 record, one of their best regular seasons ever as they play at Malden. Speaking of the Mavericks, they were trying to get their first win of the year, but a tough order when you go on the road against a JL Man team that had just lost the week before to Hannah. Luke Michaud with a nice scramble, the quarterback for Malden, but reality soon sets in. Devin Ortega running into a wall. Wyatt Ward and Aiden Pope knock him down. Then Nasias Morrison having a great year. He is off to the races. He has been a touchdown maker. Then again, he wears the number 6. And JL Man went on to the victory. They handed Malden an 18 straight loss, and even the all-time series with the Mavs at 21 apiece with that triumph decisively 55-6. Region 2-5A and a Burns team that was trying to get to 3-0 in the region, taking on a Malden squad that had played some tight games in recent weeks and was looking to extend a modest winning streak. Jake Morris's team was tied 14-all at the half, but you saw Zy Landrum take it to the house from 37 yards. Burns up 21-14. On the ensuing kickoff, the fumble that led to a Trey Segarra touchdown run, 28-14. Burns Segarra, just a freshman and also a great soccer player. Dorman scored 2 late touchdowns. They actually missed on what would have been a tying 2-point conversion, and Burns surviving, having won the week before in double overtime and edging Spartanburg prior to that. They get a 2-point win. They went into their open week at 3-0 in the region, with Gaffney coming up for them to close out the season. Meanwhile, Boiling Springs and the Indians on homecoming at Gaffney, a Boiling Springs team that lost heartbreakers against Dorman and Burns in previous week. And Khalik Harris running into a wall right there. That came in the third quarter. Lincoln Husky of Boiling Springs intercepted later in the third, and that stopped a Boiling Springs drive in a tight game. And then Riley Staten to Jamarcus Smith gets down to the 1-yard line, set up a Jaden McDowell touchdown as Gaffney begins to pull away on their way to a 10-point victory and a 7th straight in the series. The Tribe taking it 17-7 to improve to 6-2 on the year and 2-0 in the region. Spartanburg was idle last week. We mentioned Westside and Greenwood had their tussle last week. A Rams team that's been rolling since an opening loss against the BHP Bears. Cutter Woods, a big part of that, coming off a near 500-yard passing effort the week before, hooking up with a guy who's back in the rotation at wide receiver after an injury. Jamar Boston, early 7-0 lead on Greenwood. Tristan Lewis, he's going to be a good one, young player. Bryce Seaborn to the end zone, 11-yard touchdown. It was 14-all at the break. Mid-4th quarter, Demetrius Gary with that power touchdown put his team up by 7. Answer for the Rams, Woods and Jamison Wilson 5-yard touchdown tied it at 28, and then Seaborn on the connection from Lewis got the first down but fumbles. Omar Williams recovers. That sets up Woods going deep to Jamar Boston. And the Boston touchdown proves to be the winner. He'd been playing only DB this season. The NC State commit with that injury couldn't play wide receiver, but Westside got a huge win to put them on the doorstep of a region crown.
This is what it's all about right here. You know, our guys played great tonight. Hats off to Greenwood. They played a tough game. You know, our guys, we were looking for things like this, and I'm glad our guys gritted it out and finished the game.
Westside team that's won 7 straight, playing on Thursday evening against Easley, and if they get the win, they would be the region champs, as Brian Lane's done a really nice job in his first year coaching back in the area. Also in the region, Greenville could still finish as high as number 2 with a game upcoming against Greenwood on Friday night. Well, last Friday they went to Pickens trying to win a 9th straight game. MJ Bennett on the opening kickoff, setting the tone coast to coast. What a talent he is, bound for USC in his college football days. And later on, Rashad Robinson on the sprint to the end zone made it 14-0, and a Greenville team that's way off in its scoring from a year ago put up a big number in getting another win against Pickens and improving to 5-3 and 2-1 in the region, 52-7. Berea and Easley doing battle at the home of the Green Wave. Easley building a big lead in the second quarter in this game. Give Berea credit. They fight Destin Eichelberger into the end zone for the first score of the night. However, in the end, Easley had too much. Look at that hard hit right there, and they blow them away. When Easley's won this year, they've won big. They've now had 3 games of 60-plus points on the year. Region 4 3A, Clinton trying to get a championship. Well, they look to stay unblemished in region play. They got back into action after an open day playing their rival Woodruff. TJ Morris to Cam Taylor made it 7-0 early on the 28-yarder. Ty Richardson, Zay Johnson, that's a 37-yard play because of Johnson's ability to get yards after the catch. He's headed to Cincinnati to play DB. They may want to try him at wide receiver. And then Trey Cook on the next possession for Clinton gets to the house, and Clinton makes it 7 of 9 against Woodruff. They cruise on to the victory by a final of 36-20 over the Wolverines. Region 3 3A, Broome was idle last week, one of the first place teams, Chapman the other. Homecoming in Inman, and they wanted to celebrate, did Mathai Scott and the Panthers. It's a 12-0 lead as he gets himself to the end zone. They were going for a 9th straight win against Travelers Rest. Coming off games in which they'd scored 57 apiece in the previous 2. The defense steps up. Cole Doherty had the interception. Then Coleman Gray to one of his favorite targets, Sean Cunningham. Both guys named to the North-South All-Star game earlier this week, and they were part of a win for Chapman, which gets them to 7-1 on the year and 2-0 in the region. 56-0, so 3 straight weeks of right around better than 55 points for the Chapman offense. Belton Honeypath, one of the area unbeatens, going to last Friday night's game in the rain against Fountain Inn, team they beat the year before 71-7. The beat goes on. Malachi Hester into the game on a night in which Shaheem Ravs and Marquez Henderson, 2 of their top backs, each went over 100 yards. That Hester touchdown, part of a BHP win. They have been dominant, and dominant again, 63-7. Also in the region, Wren and Palmetto battling at the home of the Mustangs. Grayson Kemp, Austin Holloway on the defense right there off of that reception. Colton Bagwell later, Braden Binnicker for that score. Here comes Palmetto as Tice Garner with a weaving run. It set up a Garner touchdown, but Wren able to make it 7 straight in the series. Wasn't enough for Gardner and crew. Wren goes in and gets them 39-7. Region 2 3A action elsewhere. Powdersville trying to get another win, go to 2-1 on the year. Eli Hudgens and company against Southside, winless and trying to avoid their first winless season since '81. Landon Fowler caught that one in the end zone for the 7-0 lead, and off to the races they were as Powdersville had too much for the Tigers, making it 6 straight in the series. They moved on to another impressive win, 57-0, shutting out Southside. Region 1 3A, well, Daniels the team with the target on its back, but Pendleton has hung right with them, and they're getting ready for a big showdown Friday night in the high school red zone. Talk more about that in a moment. But last Friday at the home of the Bulldogs against Crescent, they watched the Tigers' Mason Evans hook up with a Mary Acker for a 71-yard score to cut a Pendleton lead to 19-14, but here come the Dogs. Little flea flicker action, and Luke Gray to L.J. Maddox for the touchdown. 2-point conversion good, made it 27-14. Maddox later getting into the end zone to increase the lead. Pendleton turnaround season, their best start since 2017. They cruise on to the win, 41-14 against one of their Anderson County foes. Pendleton now 7-1, 3-0, getting ready for the Daniel Lions. Speak of the Devils, or the Lions, if you will. Those sharp-looking all-black uniforms at home against their rival Seneca. They were trying to make it 6 straight in the series and win for a 44th time in their past 45 games. Jakari Bennett front and center to help that cause. Colton Chapman later on after a Bobcat fumble to Graydon Nix on a 38-yarder, runs right under the ball. What a pretty throw that was. And Daniel moving on to a dominant win, 42-3 against Seneca to stay unbeaten and set up that big showdown at Pendleton. Region 2-4A, Lawrence getting its first win of the year the week before against Riverside, and very much in the hunt to finish in the top 2 in the region. Wade Hampton, though, able to get the early touchdown on the QB keeper, but Lawrence did what they needed to get done on both ends of the field. Jave Suber with a nice play defensively, then Zamar Jones with a sprint, and the Raiders cruise on to the victory by a final count of 23-13. So back-to-back wins for Lawrence. They go to Eastside coming up Friday night. The Eagles were on the road against Riverside, not far from where Matthew Roster's team plays at the reservation. Jacob Ruff, Mikel Skinner, what a beautiful catch that was for a 21-6 lead in the second quarter for the Warriors. Later on, Peyton Schrader picked by Robbie Robertson. Great block on the play on the left side here, picture by big Marcus Downs, the defensive lineman, made it 28-6. Ruff later hit, fumbled. Caden Workman picks it up, returns it for Eastside. Eastside was in great position trying to get back in the game, but once again, Schrader throwing an interception. Well, it was picked off by Jack Merriman off a deflection. Calvin Banks and company were stifled in their attempt to get a win on the road. Riverside going into its open date with a 5th win on the year. Marcus Downs, by the way, has decommitted from Georgia Tech. Big defensive lineman has reopened his recruiting for the Warriors. Region 1-2A, Abbeville's Panthers trying to continue an impressive streak, looking for a 38th consecutive win in region play, going all the way back to 2015. And they set the tempo early on in terms of field position, but the fumble there by the Panthers recovered by Landrum and stopped a would-be score, but Carson Norman gets into the end zone shortly thereafter. Panthers were on their way to a 110th win since that 2015 season in shutout fashion, sending Landrum to 0-3 in the region. Also in Region 1-2A last Friday, Blacksburg and Chesney at the home of the Eagles. They packed it out on homecoming. KJ Proctor having a really nice year at quarterback for the Eagle team, and Caleb Blanton on the receiving end of that beautiful pass for the 7-0 advantage against a Wildcats team going for its first win of the region. Later on, Proctor weaves his way to the end zone, and Chesney able to come away with the win, a 5th straight victory against Blacksburg. It tied the very competitive all-time series at 35 apiece with just one tie. And 96 continues to be an impressive team in Matthew Bennett's first season, going at it at Liberty, wearing the white on the road. Braden Mitchell to Jabarian Dunlap for a 24-17 lead. Logan Smith, though, returning fire for Liberty. Smith gets into the end zone, 24-21 in favor of the Devils. Mitchell, though, hooking up with Evan Adams, put 96 back in front, and 96. Well, the most wins since 2018 when they won 9. They got their 7th of the year by pulling away to the 56-31 win. They're just a couple weeks away from what could be a championship showdown in Region 1-2A with Abbeville. Christ Church going to Dixie, looking to remain unbeaten, and the reigning 1A state champs trying to make it 11 wins in the past 12 meetings. They went in averaging 40 points a game because they got weapons on offense. Tucker Hendricks, Jude Hall on the touchdown, and Christ Church rolling on to another victory, improving to 6-2 and 4-0 with that 48-7 triumph. Also in Region 1-1A last week, Southside Christian home against the Chiefs of McCormick. Paul Coben and Zach Brewster. This game was actually played last Thursday. They connect there for the touchdown, early 7-0 advantage. Christian Kaiser then gets together on a score. or gets into the end zone to make it 13-0, and on their way to another win with Southside Christian after an 0-2 start. They're 4-2 overall and 4-0 in the region. They're playing tonight at Ware Shoals. Western North Carolina 1A, 2A Mountain Foothills in Polk County trying to get it done against Chase. Polk team 3-0 in the conference as the night began. Zach Frazier, though, breaks several tackles. Nice gain for the Trojans on the road. Second quarter, Zion Murray. 14-7 lead for Chase. Polk later sees Lawson Carter get intercepted by Zion Edgerton, and Chase going in getting a big win, their third straight in the series, and they put up a huge number, 70-26. Chase playing this evening their homecoming game against Patton in the 1A, 2A Mountain Foothills Conference. Meanwhile, 3A Mountain 7, North Henderson and East Henderson. Been a good season for the Vikings. They went on the road, tried to keep the Eagles winless. Mason Gasperson, the touchdown, gave his team a 20-0 advantage in the third quarter. On the next drive, Lex Burns has it picked by Jonathan Costley. A costly error right there. And then Gasperson for the touchdown, and North Henderson moving on to the victory. So North Henderson goes to 6-2 on the year and 3-2 in the conference. So that's a recap of the action we had for you last Friday night in the high school red zone. That was week number 9. We get set now for week number 10, second to last week in the regular season, and there will be some region titles, or in North Carolina conference titles, pretty much decided with the outcomes of the Friday games. One of those big showdowns, Daniel and Pendleton in Region 1-3A. Mariah Ross with more on what has been a turnaround season for the Bulldogs.
It's the kind of matchup football dreams are made of. The longtime region leaguers in the Daniel Lions and an up-and-coming Pendleton team who's looking to leave their mark.
It's senior night at home against the #1 team in the state for the region championship. And we're ready to snap the narrative of Pendleton being Daniel's little brother.
A long-standing narrative, as the Bulldogs haven't beaten Daniel since 1981, but don't think Lions coach Jeff Fruster is overlooking any opponent.
We're not going to look ahead or do anything outside of the norm as far as preparation. We talk to the kids a lot about sticking to the process and taking yourself mentally back to your process, and that's what makes us us. And so this is a big one just because it's the next one, and we're going to try to stick to our process.
Part of Fruster's process is leaning on the ground game behind running back Jakari Bennett.
He's definitely explosive. He's a guy that you kind of marvel at because, you know, every handoff could go to distance. He's just that dangerous and capable. We definitely look forward to the times that he's able to touch the ball because we know that more often than not something positive could happen.
On the Pendleton side, positive things tend to happen when quarterback Luke Gray lets it fly. The senior has thrown 38 touchdowns and just 1 interception through 8 weeks.
Luke has always been that way. If we went back to the summer and all the 7-on-7 stuff we did, I think he's still thrown less than 4 interceptions, including summer and the fall so far.
I think our quarterback, Luke Gray, is the best quarterback in the state. He knows where to go with it, when to go with it. He knows how to read defenses, and the receivers we're going to get open and be where we need to be.
Gray, 39 touchdowns, just 1 interception. That's going to be a good one. Another good one should be Christchurch and St. Joe's, although after St. Joe's had won 3 in a row, Cavaliers have owned the series of late. They'll go in on a winning streak as they play host to Chris Goodman's team, which will come around the corner to take him on in a close-by battle. Braden Johnson, breakout season, filling the shoes of his graduated brother Chris Johnson as the top rusher for the Knights. He'll be crucial, and Goodman sizing up Friday night showdown between the rivals.
We may need some breaks to fall our way. It's kind of the way we play, you know. But just to get the boys to go out there and do what they do and believe that they can do it, you know. We've only beat Christchurch 3 times in our history, so it's not something that's on the regular. And they're always tough and they're always ready to go. So we're just thankful to have the challenge. So as long as the boys meet the challenge, the score will take care of itself.
Only blemish for the Knights came in a loss against Southside Christian, which if Christchurch wins and Southside Christian wins tonight against Ware Shoals, that'll set up an all-out championship game in Region 1-1A. As for St. Joe's, well, they've gotten good QB play out of Cade Alt, and with the counterbalance of running backs like Johnson and others, they've had a really nice attack on offense. That should be a good one at the home of the Cavaliers. Among the many games we'll have for you coming up Friday night in the high school red zone, 11 o'clock Channel 7, 11:35 on the CW62, a full hour recapping the night in area high school football. It should be another good one. We told you among the games going on tonight, you've got a Landrum team trying to win at Liberty to survive and stay in the playoff hunt. Hillcrest and Malden play their rivalry game. It's been dominated by the Rams, and Malden trying to avoid a winless season. And right now, with games against Hillcrest and Woodmont remaining, and both teams have had good years, that could be difficult for them. They are getting close to 20 straight losses, but that'll be a rivalry game at the home of the Mavericks. And again, a Spartanburg Boiling Springs game could be a playoff elimination game in Region 2 5A. That game at the home of the Dogs, who've lost by 3 points in a game against Dorman, in double overtime against Burns, and by 10 points in a very tight game at Gaffney over the past 3 weeks. So it's a Boiling Springs team that emotionally is going to go into that game with something to prove, if nothing else. But a lot of interesting action coming your way in week number 10 in the high school red zone. Let's close out this edition of the Review Preview with our plays of the week from week number 9. Starts out play number 5. And it came from that North Henderson win. And Mason Gasperson just barreling. He was a man on a mission. He became his own blocker for North Henderson. That Viking gets in for the score in their win against East to get 6 victories on the season for the Vikes. Play number 4. It was a tight game late. A 3-point lead for Hannah against Hillcrest. The Region 1-5A championship game, and Jalen Harrison steps up with a game-clinching interception for Hannah, which makes it another championship in the region, and a huge play as Hillcrest had all the momentum, having erased a big deficit to get back within 3. Play number 3, coming from the Malden loss at Man, Devin Ortega. Say hello to Wyatt Ward and Aiden Pope of the Man Patriots, part of what has been a really good defense for Scoot Watson's team, and they were enforcers right there, standing up the running back, stifling Malden's offense on their way to a huge win in a game between teams that aren't all that far apart either. Play number 2, Westside got an important win against Greenwood to just about seal things in Region 1-4A. Cutter Woods, their great quarterback, hooking up with Jamar Boston. Boston back at wide receiver for the first time this season. Bobbled it, caught it, spun a couple of times, used all kinds of gyrations to get a score for the Rams. Proved to be important in a 7-point win. Jamar Boston, he's committed to NC State. He is going to be a talent there. He is hoping to lead Westside deep in postseason play in 4A, and he gets play number 2 coming out of week number 9. And play number 1, Riverside's Jacob Ruff looking for the athletic Mikkel Skinner. He saw him at the back of the end zone. Skinner defended really well in the game against Eastside, but well, that's just simply beating your opponent, going up, pulling it in, getting 1 foot in at least. He actually got 2 down with possession, and that went for a Warriors touchdown in their win against the Eagles. Mikkel Skinner, we've talked about him a lot this year, a fabulous athlete, really good basketball player for the Warriors, and plays like that worthy of play number 1. That's the show. Thanks for stopping by and joining us. We'll see you same time back here next week or whenever you decide to drop it online. And we'll see you Friday night on Channel 7 and the CW62 in the high school red zone. For now, Pete Yanity saying so long for now.